Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to have you here. If you joined us a few minutes ago, we just left one part of the Transparent Barbie um, watch party that we had. And so I know that my co-host planned to do a couple of things and should be arriving in studio here shortly to have this conversation this evening. But I hope if you did come along for the ride, you got to watch it. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you haven't, if you've seen Barbie in the past, feel free to comment and let us know what you thought of it. Jeffrey, hey, welcome, welcome. I did see your comment before I went live that you were already in here. You and I are first to arrive, and I sent Jenni the link. I didn't mess that one up. I messed that one up at the beginning of the last show. I didn't mess it up. She has the link. Maybe she's just having internet issues. We'll see. We'll see. Regardless, tonight we want to talk about gender stereotypes and expectations and what is expected of us. Barbie broke that down very, very heavily on what is expected of women, what is expected of men. That's the reason why we have the saying, "Am I enough?" Right? Based on that, like, do you fit that stereotype, Ken? Right? That those expectations, those male expectations, just as Barbie has these feminine expectations that she's expected to uphold. And then when she gets out in the real world, she finds out that the expectations, what she thought she had in her life, and how Barbie ruled everything, and everybody was going to be fantastically grateful for her. And what she did for women was not the real experience she had when she got out here. People were hurtful, they were ugly, and felt like Barbie was, in a way, to blame for some of those expectations. Good evening, AP. Glad to see you. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to my co-host with the most. She has not appeared yet, and I've sent her a message and the link. So that's not the excuse this time. I'm not enough to most people. I don't know that I would be Barbie, AP. Like, I was sitting here watching that thinking I would not be Barbie. Like, I am not the expectations of what we expect from Barbie here and how we put those on women. Those would not be like stay at home, bake the bread, look after Ken. No, no. I definitely did those roles in my earlier life, but I do not like how those are stereotyped on women. I did come from a family that wasn't quite the normal stereotypes of male and female roles. My parents, my mother was more I guess you could say, wore the pants, and my dad was, in a way, second. My dad didn't mind my mom leading. He preferred my mother to lead. My mother made most of the decisions. Now, granted, they made them together, but it was usually off my mother, not my father. And so that was a very different dynamic coming from a family that was very patriarchal. That was the men are always right, and the men have all the position, and the men have all the power. And every other dynamic we had in our family was line up in line, or so the men ate first, and then the children, and then the women at holidays. The man was the head of the table, was the head of the household, was in control of everything, except for in my house. So it was a very just different dynamic growing up. My dad would probably not be considered enough AP. Absolutely not, because he let my mother run the show. He was definitely a man. Worked hard, worked with his hands outside, intelligent, whatever it was. But at the same time, he preferred my mother to lead. AP. I'm not a fan of sports. Not really good with handyman stuff. I don't drink. Hold on. Oh, I like to journal, I like to sing, and I'm queer. So there's that. I don't think it's necessarily, I think it's the fact that you are willing to say that I am these things, that these are who I am. I'm not ashamed that those are who I am. And you're fully authentic, AP. You're exactly who you are. And I think this, again, the movie just kind of really points out a lot of stereotypes that we put on. And I'm trained in stereotypically women roles. I help with cooking and cleaning. See, and I was going to say, so that was something else within my household. My dad, my mom and dad evenly split the cooking and the shopping for the cooking, like all of that. But my parents both cooked the meals in the home. Now, I wouldn't say my dad was in the kitchen making cookies and cakes, but my parents, they were a very even mix when it came to what they did as far as cooking roles and cleaning. Again, those were things that both parents did. Now, my dad did more handyman stuff around the house that my mother didn't do. But outside, like they both worked in the yard, they both worked in gardens, flower beds. Like that's where I get my two green thumbs is from both of them and their parents. Um, so I did grow up in a house that was different when it came to what those stereotypes were, and how they fit. But now, when I came out to the real world, I was told that pretty much, okay, you're a woman, so you can expect to get paid less. You should not speak up at work. You should keep your head down, keep your mouth shut. That was some of my first advice for going to work was, oh, Jenny's here. Jenny's here. Yay! Howdy, howdy.
Howdy, howdy. I'm sorry I have dogs, so proceed, but I'm going to take this little one out to go potty.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead. So what I was talking about were like the stereotypes and how, for myself, I grew up in a home that just didn't have normal stereotypes. And I don't think she realized that she just kicked herself off there, but she'll be back. But yeah, so there's gender stereotypes again, like with the cooking and the cleaning and working in the yard. My parents did a very equal of those, and the way I was raised. Granted, I would go to holiday functions where women were all treated like we should be in the kitchen, right? Once I became a mother, I moved into that. Okay, now you bring a dish as well at Christmas, and now you join the women in the kitchen at Christmas and serving and cleaning up after everybody. And yeah, I know, I see you. I figured you hit a button or something. It's all right.
Carrying the dog.
Right. As soon as you picked the dog up, bloop, you went out. I was like, yep, there she goes. That's all right. That's okay. But yeah, so I had this household of just very different gender norms because my parents both shared the cooking. They both worked outside. They both did the cleaning. My mother ran the show. My mother was the boss. My father was very passive and he preferred my mother make the decisions, my mother lead the way. Whereas the rest of the family was very patriarchal. So then you'd go from that household over to grandma's, and it was such a clash of, okay, but wait, we can have voice and opinions, and oh crap, no, I can't. Where are we at? Twilight Zone. And it just, you never knew where you could speak and where you couldn't speak. And then again, like I said, like growing up, my advice for moving from the household going into a job was in the South, okay, so you're not going to get paid as much as a man. Keep your mouth shut. Keep your eyes down. Don't rock the boat. And I had a mother who was a head accountant in a firm, or she worked for a company, but as far as accounting went, that was a very male dominated occupation. And in our hometown, my mother made the same or more than her male counterparts. And that was also unheard of. It's still unheard of. You just don't get that. Most oftentimes, men are paid more. And so my mother was in masculine roles. And so it was just a very different dynamic for me growing up. But at the same time, these expectations of, okay, well, that might have been your house, but now you're in the real world. And this is how women are supposed to be. And you're supposed to be quiet, and you're supposed to take care of the family, take care of your husband, make sure everybody else is happy, and screw you. Was essentially what, like, going into my marriage, that was kind of like, okay, you got married, so dreams are over. That was for single you. And now that you got married, this is family, what he wants, what the kids want. Like, I completely lost myself for a decade. And I can remember being so miserable. And finally somebody, I can't remember who pointed it out, one of my girlfriends pointed it out. And she was like, have you ever gone anywhere by yourself? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, have you been on a vacation by yourself? Like, have you gone to a beach? Have you gone shopping? Have you gone to the movies by yourself? And I was like, no. When would I do that? I'm taking care of everybody else. And like, I wouldn't say that I was on like this edge of a mental break, but I was close enough that one of my friends kind of reached out to my ex and said, I think you need to let Amber go away for the weekend. I think you need to tell her that she can go see friends. She can go to the beach. She can do whatever the hell she wants. But I think you need to tell your wife that she can take a weekend off because she's never taken a day off. And I was really surprised that he did that because I wasn't quite forced to do it. But I was very much, no, like, what are the kids going to do? No, what are you going to do all weekend? No, I can't do this. No, but wait, what will I do? And I can tell you, I went and sat in a hotel room at the beach for 3 freaking days. I didn't leave the room except for to go get my food. And then I came back and slept. I laid in the bed and slept. I didn't even see the beach. I never saw water. I never went to the beach. Like, it wasn't a hotel on the beach, but I never went to the water. I didn't have a desire to go. I was so exhausted, I really just wanted to sleep. And I think I remember going and picking up food and going, okay, I'm going to go back to the hotel, eat, and then I'm going to pass out. Like, just, I didn't care. But at the same time, it was like, but why don't I care? Yeah, but who takes care of you if you take care of everyone else? Yeah, no, that ain't going in my family. My marriage dynamic, that role was, I was to take care of everybody else, and his role was breadwinner. That was all my ex saw. My ex only saw paycheck. In fact, in my divorce, he got on the stand and told the judge that he was angry at me for always making him feel like just a paycheck. And I was like, I don't know how I made you feel like a paycheck. You were a husband and a father. Like, that was you play a part. You play a role. Don't put that on me. And the judge was kind of seeing through that one a little bit. But it was very much, that was what he had done. It was that these roles of women and men, and that, okay, well, she takes care of the house and she's the mom, so she takes care of the kids, and what's school related, so that goes to her, and it's in the house, and I'm not there most of the day, and she's the caretaker of the home, so that goes on her, and I'm not there, I'm on the road, so again, she's got to take care of the bills, and oh, something's broken in the house, she's got to call the repairman. And it was just like, I don't know how many more roles I could have freaking taken on. I really don't. And when I look back at, and I brought up like my parents, I can remember when my dad was dying, my dad was a hermit, hoarder, and was living, he didn't take care of anybody else. He fixes everybody else's house and never took care of his own. So when we found out he had cancer and we went into his home, he had like the hot water tank had broken, and he had a new one in a box sitting right beside the old one in the kitchen for 2 years. He didn't have hot water. He had gone without AC for 3 years because the vents had fallen underneath the house and he was too busy fixing everybody else's. So when my dad was sick, my sister and I was not going to let him come back in that house that way. So my sister and I go to the house and we remodeled the house. And when I say remodel, I mean, we redid floors, we replaced subfloor, we laid linoleum, we laid carpet padding, we laid carpet, we laid toe boards, grout, tile. I didn't do electric. FYI, I don't do electric, and major plumbing. Underneath the house, we put the ventilation ducts all back up. I mean, everything that could be done, we tried to do to give my dad a house. But at the same time, for me, it was like my dad was seeing all these Saturdays of watching This Old House, and then us going outside and like tinkering in the shed with him or at the barn or working on projects around the house. He was seeing that we had these traits, that we could take care of ourselves. And that wasn't the normal stereotype that a father would have passed off to their daughter either, all this handyman stuff. So the fact that I can remember my dad would come in and watch us, and my sister would take it that my father was critiquing us. Like, he would come in and be like, oh, make sure you get that spot up there. And my sister would say, oh, he's judging us. And I would take it as, no, he can't do it. This is what my dad did. My dad all he wanted to do was honestly, my dad wanted to be in charge of the paint stick. Like, my dad wanted to be doing it. And the fact that he couldn't, all I could take from that was the pride that he must have felt as a dad, looking at his daughters both being able to rebuild a house that was over 100 years old. And just very different from the gender norm of what would have been taught to a daughter either. So I think it's interesting the way we are raised, how that shapes us, but at the same time, how it doesn't shape us. Because I didn't, even though my mother was very alpha in my home, I wasn't an alpha wife whatsoever. I was much more my dad. I was like very passive, and any argument, I just zipped it and buried it. And then about the 50th argument, I would explode, and all the little arguments would come out that I had packed away in the closet. And my mother would have just dealt with it. That would have been her motto, and that was not mine. Mine was just kind of like, okay, all right, whatever. That's what he said. That's what he wants me to do. Very much like my father, very passive. And in my 30s, I unpacked a lot of crap and figured out I was not passive at all. And that actually had been these roles that had been placed on me, and that I had kind of fallen prey to it, right? That's what we were supposed to do. That was what I was to be, the perfect wife, to be the perfect mom, to be, yeah, what society expected of me as a woman was to be the perfect wife, was to be the perfect mom, was to have the perfect kids, to have the perfect meals, to have everything done at exactly the right time, always. Everything was perfection. Trauma engineering is a thing. Yes, it is, AP. Thank you. Thank you. And I was getting to that. That was all my engineering. And it was very trauma engineering. But still, yeah, Jeffrey, Cooper, welcome, welcome. Actually, I see Cooper joined us as well. So I want to say hey, but yeah, I guess that's kind of my take from the start anyway, of male and female. I guess what would you start off with for yours, Jenni?
My experience was a little different. I was raised by a single mother who did not, I think she might have had an associate's degree in like secretarial arts. That's what you went to school for, back in the, I don't know, 60s. And she bounced from man to man, always hoping, I think, that man was going to complete her. And I think it was also, I'm just keeping it real. I love my mother. I honor and respect my mother. But I think there was also this idea of, well, he'll take care of me, and I get that. But I saw that, and I saw the bouncing from men to men. And there were some unsafe men in there. And so, but I also saw her, because, there's space in between those men. I also saw her step up and do, looking back, the impossible. I had no idea that we were living paycheck to paycheck and each paycheck was small. I had no idea the struggle and the sacrifice that she made, so that I never knew we were in that situation. Now, there's a lot of privilege to that. She had a mother locally who was able to basically raise my sister. Her second husband basically raised my brother. So I really, past a certain point, I don't want to be unfair to her. My sister was there until my sister was about, I don't know, teens. So by then I'm, like 5 or 6. But mostly I was the one, I guess that's not, anyway, doesn't matter. The details don't matter. I saw all that, and I had a good sense of, I need to take care of me. And I don't ever want to be in a position for to rely on someone else. And I see more women than men do this, where they put themselves in these positions where somebody is going to take care of you, figure it out. And it was a big deal that I raised my kids not to be that way. That whether it's a roommate or a romantic partner or whatever it is, if you put yourself in a position and that's your only source of income, or that's your only car. I have a girlfriend who's in a situation where she and her girlfriend are splitting up. She moved in with this girl. She sold her car because her girlfriend had 2 cars. They started a business together that my friend started from the ground up, and now they're parting ways. And there's no marriage there. And, I have feelings about marriage, but, without that safeguard of, hey, you can't just take everything. This other person has literally put her and her children out on the street. She had to move in with somebody. I thought about letting her move in with me, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. So really for me, it really always came down to, and I have another friend who cannot leave her husband, and he's not abusive or anything, but he sucks. Cannot leave him because she's like, well, what am I going to do? I don't have a job. I don't have this. And I'm like, never, never. I will not. You will see me selling feet pics. I will be on a pole. Nothing against sex work. Sex work is work. But anything to not be in that position because of what it cost me as a child. When you don't have, when you're not able to discern very well and you are just relying on somebody because you're desperate, you're inviting garbage into your life, and you will hold on to that garbage as long as it is paying your bills, keeping you in a car, regardless of what it might be doing to you mentally, spiritually, or physically to your damn kids. So that was just a big deal for me. So those gender roles were very blurred. Having said that, whenever I got married to my first husband, I embraced that gender role. I turned around and did. I was like, I want to be, this mom and this wife. And it still worked out in the way that it could, because he didn't participate a whole lot in like raising the kids or cooking dinners or doing the things. And frankly, I just didn't care. I was like, fine, I'm willing to do it. I guess because I'd always seen my mom kind of do that. I don't know, but I just didn't. Fine, it'll be me. But then leaving him was that much easier. It was that much easier to say, if I'm going to be a single parent and why are you in here?
Yeah,
Go.
no,
I might as
that's
well
kind
just
of
be a single
that's
parent.
what I looked at for me. It was like, you're not here. When you are here, it's hell. Why am I doing this? You're
Right.
not a
And
dad
looking
unless
at
I
the end of
force you
his
to be a
lemonade, I hope
dad.
he's doing well. I have no ill will against the man, but I
Same.
really did attempt to raise my kids in that way. And I attempted to take the things that I had been taught and try to not only not pass them on, but to pass on something different. Something I think that we
Yes.
don't, I don't think a lot of men realize. And even though we're seeing it a lot more, I don't think they really realize that something as simple as bodily autonomy and bodily understanding and body neutrality and security, that self-love, that starts so early, and we are
Yeah.
taught so differently. We it Sit pretty, be a little lady. Girls don't talk like that. Girls don't
Shoulders back.
act like that. There's all these little structural things. And then you get to be this preteen, and suddenly it becomes, well, cover yourself up because you are responsible for men's thoughts.
Yep.
Cover yourself up because you are responsible for another man's behavior. If something happens to you, you clearly did that. You invited that. And then we
Right.
talk about things like virginity. We don't talk about virginity with boys. There's no
Nope.
virginity test with boys. There's none of that. So this purity culture then ropes it in, and it becomes part of a gender norm. That if you have a high body count and you're a guy, you're a stud. If you have a high body count and you're a woman, oh my God, you're a slut. You're
Yep.
gross. We've been compared to used chewing gum. We've been compared. One girl told me the story of, well, imagine a tree and you've got the best apple at the top, and then you have the apples that have fallen on the ground. And a man doesn't want the apple that's fallen on the ground and everybody's touched and picked up. I'm not an apple. My children are not gum. And so I started really early teaching them that sex isn't always about this magical, beautiful, emotional thing. Sometimes sex is just sex,
No.
and that virginity is a garbage construct, because not everybody loses theirs in some beautiful, shining, loving moment, and it doesn't
Right.
make them any less anything. It's just a thing. We don't talk about dogs losing their virginity. I'm a mammal. Attaching morality to things like sex is something we do specifically to girls. We
Right.
attach morality to sex to girls. We don't do that with men.
We
And
don't.
we
We
just
don't.
don't.
I
And
mean, well, I can remember this dance. I think I was in eighth grade, and I remember it was like a winter dance, right? And so we're going to go to the ball to pick out whatever it was, the outfit. And I'll tell you, so I wore, kid you not, it's like a skirt pair of shorts, whatever, in this like funky design that had orange, black, and turquoise. And then the top was the same way, a blazer the same way. And then I had a turquoise turtleneck underneath. Right? And I can remember when we were picking out clothes, and I had picked up the suit, the pants, and the jacket, and my mother was just like, and not about that outfit, but just in overall. Remember, what is it? Those who advertise get the business. And I remember thinking, well, I mean, if I was wearing a tank top, okay, but I just picked up a damn suit top and a pair, like, what?
Yeah.
Why? And I can remember thinking, but so if I wear something, I'm responsible for how other people react to what I wear? Where
Absolutely.
is that we're responsible for ourselves piece? What?
And the function of it, this misogyny, that is what creates gender roles. There would
Yes,
not be any of this gender role stuff were it not for misogyny.
right?
Were it not for, well, a woman belongs here and a man belongs here. So now we start assigning these activities and roles. It is so fully based in misogyny. And as parents of trans people, we know
Right,
especially, and that's such a big point of all of this, is how much misogyny influences our culture in ways we don't even think about. We don't even consider that those gender roles that are born of misogyny, they oppress not just women, and not just trans or LGBTQ people,
nope.
they oppress cisgender men. My husband, whenever everything blew up in 2016 and we started talking and the Me Too movement happened, we started talking, my husband said something to the effect of, well, men don't get to share their feelings with other men, and men don't get this, and men are forced to feel like we're under all this stress because we're the providers and we're the this. And he has said to me that sometimes he feels like a paycheck because he works on the road and I'm here. I'm like, first of all, buddy, I don't have anything to do with the career you chose. That's your choice to be out on the road. You want to work something different, come home, do something different. But if you want to have the home that you want and the things that you want, and you have to have that income that you want, that's on you. I don't have anything to do with that. Second of all, I'm not the one who told you you can't express feelings with men. I'm not the one who told you you had to be the provider. I'm not the one who laid that on any man. I don't know a single woman who did. Y'all did that to you. And as soon as you jump on board and figure out that toxic masculinity hurts you too, we're fighting it for a reason. Feminism is not a girls' club. Feminism is an all persons club. It is about
Right,
equality. And somebody's going to throw out there, oh, you want to be equal to men, but you don't want to go change your oil. No, I don't. You know why? Nobody taught me to do that. You guys grew up with muscle shit in garages, doing that kind of
right,
stuff. Nobody got
right.
me interested in that. Everybody handed me dolls and handed me books and told me to be cute. And
Or took you in
that's
the
not my
kitchen
fault
and told you
either.
to cook, or told
Right.
you like to go, here's how to do laundry, here's how to clean.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not my
Yeah.
fault either. And I can pick up and I can learn. I still don't want to change my oil. I'm going to pay somebody to do that. I don't want to get up
Right.
on the roof and hang Christmas lights. I'm afraid of heights. I don't want to go chop down trees. I don't have that kind of upper body strength. It's okay that there are differences between us. That's normal. There's
Right.
differences in a husky and a chihuahua. It's okay that one being or one subset can't maybe physically do the same things as other subsets. We all complement each other with our strengths and we all fill in for each other's weaknesses. But the point is, my humanity is equal to everyone else's humanity.
Right.
And
And I
that's what
think that's
we have
what weird.
to
I think
learn.
that's what weird Barbie kind of brings out there at the
Yeah.
end when like even Barbie comes out and she's like, "I'm so sorry, we called you weird Barbie." Actually, I'm not
No,
sure
it's
it's
President
stereotypical
Barbie.
Barbie that does it. It's President. Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say I thought another Barbie said it, but yeah, the fact that they're like, "We're so sorry that we called you weird Barbie. We put this label on you to make you feel like you didn't belong."
Like you were less
Um,
because of something that was beyond your control, because of what
right,
someone else did to you or impressed or imparted upon you. You get a label, you get to be treated differently, you live in seclusion. and
right.
and yeah, I think
That's
that
kind of our boys right now.
yeah, it is
Really?
something completely beyond their control. I love how the movie the point gets so missed. So many haters see that movie and go, oh well, they just made Ken look weak and they make him look this and they make patriarchy, and then that women just want a world where men don't exist. No, that's the point of this movie, is to show that that's been our
That's
reality
how women feel, is
this
exactly how kids
whole
felt.
time. It's been
When
our reality.
he was like, but I'm with you, and what is it? It's when he's up there and she's kind of like, I'm not in love with you, kind of deal,
Yeah.
and he's taking off the mink and whatever, and she's just like, you can be just Ken, and he's
Yeah.
like, but I'm only Ken if I'm in the warmth of your gaze, and it
Right.
was,
I
I
don't know who
kind
I
of,
am without you.
I kind of was taught that was, well, I wasn't taught. I had the misconception that was how it was supposed to be, that I was supposed to feel like that was all my value wrapped in one. The second I found a husband and became a husband or became a wife and a mother, that, oh, I have hit the epitome. I have made it top notch. I have fulfilled my dreams.
And
And
how
I
many
didn't feel
messages did
that.
we receive saying that that's what it was supposed to be? Every show we grew up watching, every single thing we were exposed to told us that that's how we were supposed to feel. And if
Yep.
we didn't feel that way, there was something wrong with us.
Yep.
And we still treat women like that today. There's a whole generation now of young women who don't want to have kids. And I
Right.
mean, people are hateful about it. People
My
are
my
like,
daughter doesn't, and my children, for the most part, for right now, none of them do. And I've got a friend of mine who, she is in, I think she's like 29 or 30. And for the last 2 or 3 years, her parents have been like, are you going to find a man? Are you going to get married? When are you going to give us grandbabies? And she's constantly like, she came to me one night about it. She's like, why do I have to pop out grandbabies? What if I don't want children? I don't owe my parents jack. And again, this stereotype of what is expected, because we're females, we're automatically going to pop out children. I had a friend, a neighbor, and I loved her dearly, who felt like the fact that she had her daughter and son, she had fulfilled all of life's duties. In her image, in her mind, that was her ultimate goal. She had accomplished everything that needed to be accomplished. And I can remember sitting there looking at her one day and thinking, because of nature, you could spit out a kid and
and
that's your
here's the
ultimate
thing.
goal?
If that's your goal and that's your dream, live it, baby. I support a woman who wants to work from home. I support a woman who wants to have a reasonable amount of children. 19 is pushing it, 8 is pushing it. Stop it. Stop.
Please.
Stop. I don't like, you need to talk to somebody. But like, but at the end of the day, you know what? That doesn't affect me. Like, go live your life, baby girl. Do whatever the heck you want.
Right?
But there
Right?
has to be room for all of that.
Yeah. And we didn't, I mean, for my girls, and so that was because I had thought that, ooh, I'm just supposed to, I'm a wife and I'm a mom, so my life is fulfilled. And I was so miserable. I was dying on the inside every damn day and could not figure out why I was so miserable. I've lived up to what society said I'm supposed to be, a mom of 3 kids, ooh, and a wife, ooh, and you got a house by 27, ooh. And I was miserable,
Yeah.
miserable on the inside, because it had nothing to do with me. That's nature, that you can produce children. In my eyes, what I had wanted was this giant career. And my ex was like, no, you're a mom. You stay home.
Yeah.
You're a wife. You cook the meals. The house is expected to be clean. Everything should be in its place when I come in the door. Every single time. No excuse why not. Yes, I had a house by 27 AP. That's why I say times have changed. That was also a VA loan. Let me add that. That was also a veteran loan because my ex was ex-military.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gen Z won't pull that. Sorry. That's my kids won't.
I have 2 actually brothers-in-law. One is an architect and his wife, I don't know how that happened, but thank you. His wife is a doctor. And so he ended up mostly staying home. Like, he did some architectural work for a firm, but he mostly stayed home. And let me tell you, that family, I mean, every chance they got, I would hear about it. And then another sister of mine married a fella who was a musician, and that they were married, that was their choice. And he was a stay-at-home dad, and she was big business sales. I mean, she was rocking and popping it. And later she was upset because she felt like he didn't have any ambition, he didn't have any drive, he didn't have any this and that. And it's just funny to me that, like, but those were the roles you agreed upon when, I mean, you knew that. And
Right.
that's the big thing. Whatever your roles are, people have ideas and roles in marriage and in life. When they're agreed upon, there is unity.
Right.
When they're not is when there's a problem. And that's what's going on a bigger scale in society, is we're saying there's not unity because I don't agree with this. I don't want this. I don't want to be boxed in, and I don't want to be told that my life has to be this. And
It's
that
other
I have
people's
to be,
expectations. It's
right,
those expectations that we were talking about, that just because somebody expects that from you because you are a woman doesn't necessarily that you're going to fit that mode, right? I mean, and that goes for all of us, whether you're a man, whether you're transgender, like whatever it is. You don't, just because you identify a certain way doesn't mean that these stereotypes should be
right,
slapped on you, that we're all
right.
going to be the same.
They're all
Where is it?
constructs.
All snowflakes are different, all grains of sand are
Yeah,
different. Why in the hell are we all going to be the same?
right. Well, and just
It would
creating
be
a world
boring.
that's more equitable. I think that, especially with the trans and non-binary community, the disruption is your stuff.
Uh-oh. Hopefully she'll be back in a second. That's not my end, that's her end, and sometimes that happens. Oops. We'll get her back to it. Yeah, so Dr. Constance, hello. Okay, you're back. Woohoo!
Hi.
That was
Okay.
temporary.
Well, it happens anytime something happens with my phone, and my husband was trying to call me, so bless his heart. Anyway, anytime you step out of that, it upsets it upsets people who want things
Right,
to stay the way that they are, instead of realizing that we made all that shit up, and we can change it if we want to. We can change it anytime we want to.
right. That was me. Yep,
Oh,
yep. And it is. I mean, we get stuck into these expectations of, and I it's more than just the expectations. So you get stuck in the expectations, and so I'm angry. I remember sitting there thinking, I'm miserable. I'm miserable on the inside. I've done what the woman's supposed to do. I did the house. I did the kids. I don't want, and the wife, and I, this isn't enough. Why isn't this enough? And I was angry at myself for that because I didn't fit the stereotype. It's
right.
just like, why the hell are you angry? Why can't you be happy with what you've got?
Why
Other
can't you
people
be
are happy.
grateful? You're always be grateful.
Be grateful.
Be
Yeah, no,
grateful.
I'm telling you, some of those moments in that movie, I was just like, oh
I
wow.
mean,
But
they struck a chord in so many ways. I loved the final montage. Those were actually reels from people who were in on the movie, whether it was actors or behind the scenes people who
right,
who gave their reels and set that up. I thought that was really, really cool. And to me, it was just such a moment of womanhood. And
right,
I've said womanhood is wide enough for all who want to participate in it. It does not belong
right.
to me just because I have certain body parts. It
I
belongs
cannot
to whoever.
believe that ending scene and she's the
Oh,
gynecologist.
I
I was
loved.
like, wow. I thought
Yeah,
she
I
was
thought she
going
was
for a
going to a
job
job interview.
interview.
Yeah.
I so did. And she was so happy. And I was just like, oh, okay.
Oh, it's
Calm
not
down
that
a little
great,
bit.
girl.
All right, yeah, you'll figure that out in a few minutes. Just calm
Yeah.
down a little bit. Just a little bit. All right. But I guess, she was appreciating the human experience. But I got really trapped in those stereotypes. Like I trapped myself in those stereotypes. Like this was what I stayed in a marriage because of those stereotypes when I knew I didn't deserve the treatment that I was getting, that I could do better, that my children deserve better. And I did finally leave because those stereotypes, I'd had enough of them. I didn't care if I was a divorced single mom. right? I just
Yeah.
didn't. And that wasn't why I didn't do it. For the longest time, I didn't do it because my mother had been divorced at 13. And when I was 13, and my ex and I had kind of talked about it, that we never wanted to do that to our kids. And
Yeah.
so every time things would get shitty, I would just be like, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. You'll stay. You'll rise above it. We'll work it out. Things will be okay. Stay in your lane. And I did for a little while.
And for what? Nobody needs to stay anywhere they're unhappy.
No.
I just move on. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
support. I'm checking on a dog. If he goes somewhere and gets quiet, I get a little nervous. What are you doing? What are you doing? All right.
Yeah, he's been up to no good. He needs to be checked on. Right? Little drug dog. Jeepers.
Oh my gosh. No, my dog. Well, he's had a little while sober now, so I'm really proud of him.
Right?
Some other great takeaways from it. I think that Ken just kind of finding out that he can be just Ken. I loved their little song, and it was like, my name's Ken and I'm enough. And that's been a big part of everything we've seen, very cliche with women lately, is like, you are enough, I am enough, I am enough. And, just that parallel was pretty neat. And then
I love the way they played it up, because the whole time you're like, he's so desperate.
Right.
Honestly, is how I feel about it. And then
But
in
it's
the
how
end, you're like,
women have been portrayed in so many films. Like, we're just desperately chasing some person that doesn't want us.
that we're miserable if we don't have a man. Like, if we can't find a man, or we don't want a man, we must be miserable. There must be something broken within us. There must be something wrong with us. And that, forget cis, just not having a partner at all is suddenly like this, oh, what's wrong with them? Nothing's wrong with you. If you don't have to have a relationship. I am currently at a place where I do not want a relationship. None.
Yeah.
Zero, zilch, nada. It's me time. I did the wife. I did the abusive relationship afterwards. And quite frankly, it's my damn time. My children are in their 20s. They're one of them's flown the coop. The other two are going to fly the coop. And if they don't fly the coop once I have my surgery, I'm going to fly the coop. I don't care. My children are grown. They're at an age where it's time for you to live your life. And I'm ready to live mine. And I don't really care what stereotype somebody wants to go, oh, but because my mother once was like, but you're starting to get a little older, and like, if you're going to find somebody again, and I'm like, who says I want to?
Right. Not only that, but you're not.
Why do I need to?
Time.
That's my thing. Why do I need to? My thing is like, why do I need to?
Right.
Because this is what happened with my marriage, because my marriage was such crap, because I got married young, because I realized that as a young mom, I couldn't drive our stick shift, the only car that we had. I could not drive it. I'd been taught 3 or 4 different times on the straight shift. I could not learn how to drive one, which meant I lived at home. I went nowhere unless my ex-husband drove me. By the time we had 3 kids, our car was still the stick shift. Our only car was still the stick shift, which meant with 3 kids, I still was never going anywhere alone unless I borrowed my mother's car. And because the car was so small, it was the first year of the Hyundai Elantra, I had 2 car seats in the back seat that I sat between. And my oldest was in the front seat. For 2 years, I rode in the back seat between 2 car seats in our car. And my life became this, I got pushed back behind 1 kid, and then pushed back behind 2 kids, and then pushed back behind 3 kids, and behind the husband, and behind the house, and then behind the cars, and then behind the house maintenance and the school. And it was like my needs got further and further and further. And it was like, do you have needs?
Right.
Oh shit, you have those?
Yeah.
What could they possibly be? And so when I really started to kind of address some of that I hadn't gotten those things, that I didn't have any of those things, that I didn't want anything of where I was at anymore. That was a bit of a shock, because I had to crawl out and now fight the patriarchy for a position.
Right.
And that made my marriage, quite frankly, a living hell for the next couple of years.
Yep.
Of this, no, I don't feel that way. I feel this way. Why do you have an opinion suddenly?
Yeah.
I want to go to work part-time. You can't go to work. I want to go to school full-time. I'll pay for one course. Just fight, 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 fight over power. And there was no fight to be had. It was just let me do something other than sit at home and my brain rot. And that was where he liked me. He didn't want me outside of the house. He didn't want me getting an education. He didn't want me having a job. He didn't want me having freedom. He wanted me stuck in my little freaking Barbie house. So no, I was feeling Ken. I was feeling Ken. I was also a little pissed off at Ken in some parts, but because I never, even though I got squashed, I did not get vindictive and nasty as some of the things that he was pulling there on the end because of the way he feels. I didn't. I didn't.
I did. When
I
I came out of my situation, so when my son was born and I was nursing, and my husband was an attorney and I was a teacher, and I would take that baby and I would sleep in the living room on a chair so that the baby wouldn't wake him up at night because he had to be in court, and that was so important. And what if he didn't have enough sleep and couldn't be in front of court? And one day a girlfriend of mine was like, well, Jenni, how good of a teacher are you when you haven't slept? And it occurred to me that I actually had needs, that I mattered. And I don't know that that's a gender role thing. I think that it is more expected that we sacrifice, especially when it comes to the children, the house stuff. There's things. So maybe it is, but that was ingrained in me somehow, in some way. But I think it's also a situational thing with like, did the world do that to me, or am I doing it to me? And as soon as someone said, hey, you matter too, and I realized it, I got pissed. I got really pissed in 2016, and with the Me Too movement and with many of the women's marches that we all did, I was angry, and I have stayed angry, and I would burn it all down and take over the Supreme Court and make it all women if I got, because I'm still angry.
I was gonna say my early 30s, the end of my divorce, coming to this fruition that I had put myself, quite frankly, in these freaking roles in this place. I'd held myself there unnecessarily. And I had taught my kids, actually. My kids were seeing this play out and how miserable my marriage was. And I can remember telling them, don't get married. I want you to go out and get, when you finish school, go out and get your college.
I can't hear Amber. I don't know if everybody else can. We're going to wait just a second. Okay, I show that your microphone is muted on the thing.
Now?
No, I can hear you. I think.
Okay. Yeah, my earbuds are dying. I don't know why, but the earbuds are dying. So I have to keep like switching out between the two earbuds now, since we played it through the other show. But yeah, for me, I just realized that I had been miserable for so long. I had put myself there, and that I could have something totally different if I chose to. And what I told my kids was, you didn't have to run out as soon as you got out of high school and get married. You didn't have to have children if you didn't want to. You could make these choices for yourself. And what I really implored them to do was go out and get an education, go out and figure out your skill, your life, your career, whatever it is that you want to do, and build that up. Figure out who you are and what you want from your life, and then find somebody who complements it. Not somebody you need, not somebody that you get put in a position where you can't get out.
Or take care of yourself in case, heaven forbid, the unthinkable happens.
That too.
Not everybody has life insurance. If you're not married, you're not entitled to it. If you're not married and they, God forbid something horrible happened, you don't even get like their survivor death benefits, because there's no, I have feelings about that. That's a whole nother topic. But anything can happen. Be able to stand on your own 2 feet.
My ex, he got really mad. I remember. So his uncle, my ex's uncle died. Our son, the middle son, was 9, and that week, and they had a son. Their son was about 4. He's about 6 weeks younger than mine. So his aunt and I were pregnant at the same time. And I had my son first, and then actually my sister had a baby in between that, and then this our cousin was born. And when he was 9, his father died of a massive heart attack, dropped dead. And his aunt had a 16-year-old and a 9-year-old suddenly. And I can remember going to the funeral, and he was cremated, and he's in like his favorite. He had a sports team was on his urn. Anyway, so we're sitting at the house afterwards, and it's sitting on the kitchen table, and she's moved it like to a shelf so it doesn't get knocked, kind of deal with so many people in the house. And she happens to look over at my son, and she's like, "Don't you have a birthday coming up?" And he didn't. He has not said a peep, and he's kind of like, "It's today." Because we didn't want to say anything. And she was like, "I'm so sorry you're having," and we're like, don't do that. Don't do that. You have no idea. You can't control this. And I remember we come home, and our dog was like a 10-week-old or 10-month-old puppy, and it had ripped, like an American bulldog, had ripped the whole entire couch arm down to the wood. The stuffing is gone, and the stuffing is like on my treadmill, all over the downstairs, in every room, the kitchen, it's on the stairs, it's in the living room, it is everywhere. And my ex goes ballistic. We've been in the car, it's after midnight, we've been in the car like 4 hours to get home. And I'm like, calm down. Like the dog's been alone for 12 hours all day. What'd you expect? First time alone. It's okay. So we clean up the mess. Everything's fine. And I remember having this conversation with him that I wanted to go to work. And that I wanted to go to work, and I wanted my own 401k. And he was just like, "Why wouldn't we put it in together?" And I was just like, no reason. And honestly, all it was more of a looking at his aunt that day and thinking, I don't want to be her. I want to know that I can stand on my own 2 damn feet. And what happens if something happens to you? I have 3 kids. I don't have 2. I have 3.
Right.
How am I going to pay for a house? And she worked. She worked in radiology. She sold x-ray. She sold ultrasound equipment to hospitals.
That is my dream,
Hard
is to
money.
go into medical equipment sales. So if anybody's watching this, I am an outstanding salesperson. My dream is to go into medical equipment sales because I absolutely love science so much. I just adore.
Well, I mean, that's what they did. And so she had something, but I can remember my ex being so upset with me
Right.
that I wanted my own 401k.
Right.
And I was just like, I just want to be able to contribute. I want to be able to say that I can stand on my own 2 feet, because if something happens to you, I am going to have to take care of 3 kids.
Baby, I have my own secret hidden money. I get cash for cleaning houses sometimes, and I get cash for other things. Or sometimes if I get a paycheck, I'll just go take $100 out and I stick it in my dang set, and it is mine. That is there for me. My husband makes probably double what I make. So
Right.
that money and stuff there is always there at his disposal. And for me, the last thing I want in the world is to have to ask for something. Like I'm still that person. I don't want to have
Yep.
to ask you to. I would love to hear more about that AP. I don't want to be like, can I have this new purse that I don't need? I don't want to have to explain if I need it or not. I just want
Right.
to buy it.
Right.
And also,
I used to
thing
do
I like
that.
to do is give my kids money, and our Cash App is connected to the account that has both of our names on it. So anytime I Cash App my kid something, he'll call me up and be like, "Why did you send him money?" And I'm like, "It ain't your business. It's my money. If I want to hand my kids some of my money, I can do that."
Yeah.
I don't question you when you buy a new video game. I don't ask you why you bought that new headset. I don't care. That's whether it's yours or ours or mine. Like, if I want to give my kids $100, I want to do that.
Right. We had the same bank account, and because I didn't ever work, so obviously the check was his, right? And so he freaked out not the first year, I'd say the second year of marriage, he freaked out about bills, just the stress of it. And so I took it over, and all he did was put the money in the bank. I paid the bills. I made sure everything got paid out. I took care of everything. And I can remember like the last year, things are getting really, really rocky in the marriage. And he put some kind of something on our bank app that would alert him every time money moved. So if I went to PetSmart, he like literally I'd be in the like not even to the car yet. What'd you get at PetSmart? Dog food. We have 4
Right.
fucking dogs.
Right.
Excuse my French, but we have 4 dogs.
Right. What, an outfit for myself?
Walmart.
No,
Where'd you go? Why'd you go to Walmart? Groceries. Your kids have to eat.
Yeah.
What'd you go to Shoe Carnival for? Your kid need cleats for soccer?
That's a whole, listen, let me tell you what, this is a whole nother episode about coercive control, because that shit'll get me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No. And that's what I'm saying. When you talk about stereotype and these gender roles and people, my ex was stuck in this gender role of, as man, he was supposed to control everything.
I have the right to know everything, where every penny's going. It's
right?
my money after all.
And that's a gender role. That's a gender role that somebody has given him at some point, said you, or influenced him to think that that's how he's supposed to feel. The gender role thing, we just need to abolish. Like I said, I can hammer, I can shovel.
How does it benefit men to not be able to pay their own bills, to not be able to wash their own stuff? You know how many men I think it's getting better, obviously generationally, but how many men, their wives pass away, they're in old age, maybe they're not at an old age, and they are absolutely helpless.
They have no idea how to do anything. They can't do their wash. They don't know how to fix anything.
In an unkind way. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And you don't know how to do what you don't know how to do. There's nothing hateful about that. But how does that benefit anybody? It doesn't benefit anyone to suddenly be helpless in that moment. So breaking down those gender roles is about helping everyone. It helps everyone when we do that. It benefits everyone. And my heart especially goes out to the trans and non-binary community when it comes to gender roles. Because imagine going from, I've seen some TikToks that have been really interesting about, transgender men who are like, it's so weird now that I'm around all the cis men and they say things to me or in front of me that they never said when I presented as a woman. And it makes them very uncomfortable, because they're like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to perpetuate that. And so there's, the absolute chaos in my mind of having to figure out who you are. That you know where you belong, and you know who you are, and you know the pack you want to run with, but the toxicity in it. I've heard trans men.
I think it's all of it, though. That's men. That's men, that's women, that's all of us, right?
That's all of us.
I'd say trans women probably don't feel, they feel it from women just as badly as trans men do within the men's spaces. They don't want to be a part of that either.
Because womanhood is amazing. It really is. As much as we can get on here and talk about the difficulties of the female gender norms, womanhood is fantastic, and I welcome anyone who wants to participate in it. It's so much more than periods and childbirth and breast exams and going to the gynecologist. Barbie showed that. Barbie showed that womanhood was about a sisterhood. It was about, just you're constantly evolving and trying to figure out who you are. And I love when Ruth said, us mothers stand still so that our daughters can look back and see how far they've come. And I don't know how much of that statement I 100% agree with, but it just was such a magical.
I feel like that's us. I don't know that we feel like that was our mothers, but I feel like that's us.
I feel like that was my mother. She really did stand still within that gender role and within that generational time. And then I am here and I look back and I'm like, wow, we really have come so far. Wow, I really did my best to kind of break a cycle. And I hope that my kids look back and are better and further than I am. And I want that for every single human being, regardless of gender, regardless of expression. I want that for everyone, because it's wonderful. It's a wonderful place to be, and we can all help each other.
Definitely. We are at our 8 o'clock mark.
We're at our 8. Hey, sorry for
right?
the tardiness. I got a little puppy dog here.
Oh, you're all right. You're all right. I'm not worried about it. I am not. It was a blast, and I actually, I don't think I've even had a chance to tell you this. So everybody, on Tuesday night on Mama Bear, because people who have been coming the last few weeks, I pretty much follow up whatever the conversation is here. We just keep it going at the beginning of Mama Bear. So Mama Bear, we'll go back into this with Barbie and gender roles and stereotypes and so forth. But tomorrow night, I actually have a new show that I added, that I'm part of, like a collaboration of like 5 or 6 other parents, and it's called The Fuckery of Parenting. And it's all the goods and the bads, all the pluses and the minuses, the negative and the positives, like all of it, with some humor, obviously. I didn't come up with the title.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and plug my shit. Listen, you can find me on the Long Term Pickles podcast, anywhere you hear podcasts. It's just a couple of besties. We take a pickle break and sample pickles. The topics are random. The vibes are immaculate. The pickles are delicious. Join me there. I am also, once my mom gets here, starting a mother-daughter true crime show. I have wanted to do true crime. I am obsessed. I absolutely love it. I love justice. And, I haven't been able to because I haven't had a partner in true crime. So now my mom.
Right. Yay!
Yeah, you and I'm never going to have a day off again. I am busy every single day.
Oh, no, I'm the same way. I got 7 days. I told somebody I'm 7 days a week now. Literally. Yeah. I have 2 shows on Thursday and Saturday I do with somebody else. And then, all of mine. So, we're 7 days a week now. Woohoo! So,
love you, girl. Guys, love all of you.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll be back next week. Bye.
Bye.